Number 2. Ow, stepped on the cord. Get out of the camera. All right. Well, today we're continuing our discussion of how to have natural faith conversations, otherwise known as evangelism. And this week we are going to be focusing on listening to understand. Listening to understand. So, Mary Jo, how can listening help when we are having conversations?
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, man. I saw that one coming, too.
Yeah, I can see it in your face.
Mary Jo, you are not listening. You are not listening.
Well, it's a good question because listening actually, I've always said that I think this is one of the hardest parts of the whole evangelism process, or having natural conversations, is that we're just not as good at listening. And I think, like lately we have a great example from our own culture that we have not been good listeners. We're just trying to talk and we're talking past each other. Mm-hmm. So I think this is an area where we all have room to grow in actually paying attention to what other people are saying and trying to understand them for what they're trying to say. So it does a couple of things. It demonstrates respect for our fellow mankind. Mm-hmm. It demonstrates respect that you were paying attention. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I do this to you. I'm just listening so that I can prepare myself to answer, and I'm not actually hearing you.
But you're the one talking, so it's on me right now.
So anyway, I didn't mean to insinuate that he wasn't. I was just...
Hey, 27 years of marriage, come on.
Yeah, but I find myself doing this sometimes. I'm like listening to you, but I'm really just like waiting for you to finish. Mm-hmm. So that's not the kind of listening we're talking about. We mean really paying attention to what the other person is saying, so that they feel heard, and that you actually, because you were actually understanding or trying to understand them.
But on that, some people may say that I can listen and form what I'm going to say at the exact same time, because we can multifunction, right?
I don't know what psychologists would say about that, but I could say from my own experience that I pay more attention to myself than I do to the person that I'm supposed to be multifunctioning with.
Yes,
so
yes.
I think you get caught up in trying to work through your own thoughts when you do that. But psychologist Timothy Muehlhoff, he actually says that many people think they're better listeners than they actually are.
Say that again. I didn't hear you. But
at least you're not punning. At least he's not punning. So, many people think that they're better listeners than they really are. So they'll over-evaluate themselves as being, better. Listening takes intentionality and desire. It takes, you have to want to really understand somebody else in order to listen to them well. It's an important practice. In fact, the scripture in Proverbs 18:13 says that to answer before hearing, and that hearing implies an understanding, not just giving somebody their turn.
Right.
To answer before hearing is folly and shame. And so not like, oops, maybe I should have. It's folly and shame because you're trying to give an answer before you've truly understood the thing that you're answering.
Right.
So that's why I believe that it's folly and shame.
So a lot of people will say, "Oh, I heard this word, I heard this concept. I'm going to respond to that, or respond to that," without fully hearing everything that you just said, nuanced or fully expressing something.
Yeah. And the thing that's really important about listening, so we've all been on the negative side. Let's be on that, like the positive, the affirmative. What's good about listening? Well, it does affirm the person, like we said earlier, but it also helps you find points of communication. So, people are always asking me, well, what do I say if? What do I say if? If you're asking questions of the person and then you're listening to their responses, then listen for what you already have some knowledge of and then comment on those things. So listening can be great in finding points of commonality and agreement so that you have that springboard for going into evaluation of ideas.
Yeah, that's really good. The other day I was talking to a gentleman who wasn't a believer, but he had a psychological doctorate. And I thought, man, this is a great opportunity to learn something from him, because obviously he's the one with the knowledge in that area, which I have an interest in. So instead of getting into a you just need Jesus conversation, I got an education from the guy about what he knew, and he appreciated that. So me just listening to him was very beneficial to him.
Yeah, plus I think you were able to find some points of commonality. He brought up Richard Dawkins, I believe, and you were like, oh yeah, I know Dawkins. And he was actually really surprised that there's this Christian man who's read Richard Dawkins and is familiar with them.
It was really good. All right, so Mary Jo, you've restarted your PhD, so we want to get an update from you on how that is going, how we can help you, and what are all the ins and outs of your PhD?
All the ins and outs, all of them.
Because we are listening.
So yeah, I restarted my PhD. I'm studying in the field of epistemology and specifically Muslim epistemology. And the couple of ways that you can help me is the first is prayer, because I feel like I have my hand in so many pies that sometimes it feels overwhelming, all of the things that are going on at once. And they're all really good things. So I want to give my time and attention to researching this PhD so I can do some, good work in it. So prayer for that, for direction, for, calmness of spirit as I'm working on it, for attention. Actually, COVID did mess with my attention span a bit, and it's harder for me to concentrate. So prayer for that as well. And then we did, with the pandemic and some other circumstances involving the funding organization, we did end up having my program defunded. So it's not at the university level. It was a part of a cohort. I was part of those, giving scholarships for my study and my research. And it's been completely defunded. So if it's on your heart to give to this PhD work, in which I'm working on how Muslims provide justification and warrant for their beliefs, or if they are providing that, which is work that they really haven't done. Mm-hmm. Christians went through a reformation 400 years to the present on that, and Muslims really haven't done that. So Christians are actually taking up the mantle and working in this field alongside of Muslims. If you feel led to give to that, that would be great, and we can provide you a link or something to do that for. So prayer, monetary support, and then the other thing is, if you know of, if you have access to research journals or articles or things in epistemology, I would love to have that, especially if they're Islamic epistemology.
So good. And just to give you an update for 2021, we've raised enough funds to pay the tuition for this year, which is a blessing.
Yeah.
And so now we've started for 2022, and that we've raised about $2,500 so far. We just started a few weeks ago. We're trying to raise about $10,000 a year, so that gives you an idea of what we're up against over the next 5-6 years. It's a lot of money, but if you can help us in that endeavor, or know people who can help us in that endeavor, let us know that too.
Sure.
All right, one book to recommend to you. You saw it earlier. It's called You're Not Listening by Kate Murphy. Not necessarily a Christian book. She's a journalist. It is awesome. Grab a copy of that. And then for our next episode, we're going to be doing, it's on the back side of the paper. Caring about people in a meaningful way. Do we have empathy in our conversations, and is our testimony strengthened if we combine empathy and reason?
To do something.
Uh-huh.
Fun.
Uh-huh.
And to put the city on the map.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work.
Oh, well, work is hard.
You're not really listening to me, are you?